Hello and welcome to this week's Good Evening KU. I am Rosie Pike.
And I'm Abby Weaver.
So a little bit of campus drama this week over in Texas. Now a college professor has actually threatened or tried to, I think, failed his entire class.
It was the Texas A&M professor, or Moritz actually. It was his strategic management class. I guess all semester they've been out of hand, threatening him, being disrespectful, that he got security guards in and out of class, and he just had enough. So he sent out an email saying that the whole class is going to fail, and the university wasn't too happy about that, and neither were the students. So
I think they kind of tried to tell him, you can't do that, not today.
Yeah, no, I think he's actually leaving. He decided to leave.
That was his breaking point. I think he'd had enough. I think he sent an email to the university admin actually telling them that the kids were now their problem and he didn't have to deal with them anymore. So hopefully none of that over here in Kansas.
Yeah, I don't think I could handle that on finals week.
Yeah, I can't say any of my classes sound very much like his, so fingers crossed. But over here at Kansas, we do have some exciting news. It's that we have a new prospective player coming up for this.
Yes.
Finally, we've heard some news about some new players because it was looking a bit bleak there for a while. Everyone was dropping like flies.
I'm hoping this is just like a sneak peek because we only heard of one, but it's Shek Diallo actually.
And we have confirmed his name is Shek.
Yeah,
because
Shek.
It's spelled kind of Czech, and he hears cheek, he hears Czech. Apparently, he just finds it funny. He's used to it now. So.
Yeah, it's actually from Australia, so hopefully he has a little accent to him. But I mean, he's a forward, and I heard he's 6'9", so that's going to be a really good advantage for KU.
Yeah, absolutely. We need some nice tall guys in there. So I think he was actually ranked 5th nationally by Rivals.com.
Yeah.
And he won the Gatorade Player of the Year, so that's very promising. Hopefully.
Yeah, I heard that he also got a lot of nightly doubles, which is that he always had a lot of scores on different charts, like each time. So.
Okay. Yeah. So I think he picked us over Kentucky, Iowa, Pitt.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So that's good news, and he's come from a high school in New York. That's where he won his awards. And I think you said Australia. Is it Mali he's actually from, I think?
Well,
possibly Mali,
What I read, it said that he used to live in Australia.
But is born in Mali, right?
Right.
Okay, well that's very exciting. We've got Scott coming up next. Now he's the editor of the Kansas Sport newspaper, so hopefully he can tell us a bit more about that, and you can stay tuned to watch Griffin interview him.
Welcome back to Good Evening KU. I'm Griffin Hughes. Joining me is Scott Chasen, the new editor for the UDK Sports section. Scott, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Griffin.
Well, thanks for joining us. This is the only show you haven't been on yet, I feel like, so you've covered all your bases now. Let's talk about the UDK a little bit. What direction are you going to drive the UDK now that you've taken over the helm of the sports staff?
Well, it's kind of a direction we've started to go on, this semester. We want to move toward, being digital. So there's going to be a lot of video, a lot of reporting that maybe didn't previously exist, which, should open up some great opportunities. I know especially we want to, work with the shows that go on here in Crossroads, that go on through KUJH, and, just kind of connect everything, because we have a lot of good material, but we're not using it to the best of our ability. So that's something we really want to work on.
How are you going to go about expanding some of the beats and some of the coverage of the smaller sports? I'm talking men's golf, rowing, something like that, where the beat writers don't get opportunities to make a lot of coverage.
Well, I think it all starts with the video there. Just having someone to go out and shoot events, and we've talked with, briefly with SIDs who really like this direction. So they feel that, if we can start doing these things, they'll open up their coverage to more, actually getting interviews. Some sports don't like their players being interviewed, on the course in the area. So that's something that will kind of start to change, and that'll really help with the smaller sports, as you mentioned, because having a writer going to an event, talking to someone who is a rower, talking to a golf player or a golfer, I should say. having that just it brings so much more to the sport and to the coverage of the sport.
Now, you as an editor will be in charge of every sport that we do at Kansas, and even in Kansas City sometimes for Kansas City beats. But your sport of interest is basketball, and specifically the NBA.
Indeed.
And as far as basketball goes, there's no better time than really from March up until the beginning of June. So for you, there's a lot of storylines going on in the NBA right now, whether Billy Donovan will end up at the Thunder, Rajon Rondo. Actually, talk about that a little bit, because I'm curious about your look at that and what you think about the whole Rondo situation, him getting released from the Mavericks and not getting paid the playoff share that they get.
Well, with Rondo, it's interesting because when they added him, the Dallas Mavericks, they were first in the NBA in offensive efficiency. So they had the league's top offense. They had a player who, he can't shoot. His flaws are offensively. He can move the ball. He's a great passer, great dribbler. He's very lengthy. But the problem is he can't shoot, so he can't space the floor. He doesn't really fit in with that team. So since then, it's kind of gone downhill. And I know they asked Coach Rick Carlisle about him, if they think he'll ever wear a Dallas uniform again. And they asked him during the playoffs, and he said he didn't think it would happen. That's something that's really shocking to hear, just as a fan, as anyone who covers the game. But it seems like the attitudes didn't match. And he's a guy who he's always fought everywhere he's been. He's fought with coaches, with other players. So the question has always been, is he good enough to be able to do that and get away with it? Kind of seeing the same thing in baseball now with Ventura. Is he good enough to have those types of problems? So, it'll be something that's interesting to follow moving forward and to see what team, does take a chance on him. Maybe the Los Angeles Lakers. They're a name that's talked about. He and Kobe have a good relationship, but, that could be a storm waiting to happen.
Now, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're in the market for a new coach now. Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, the man who has more triple-doubles than anyone this season, they're awaiting who is going to be running their team next year. As far as who they select as a coach, are you of the mind that they should let Kevin Durant have a say in who it is, or do you think it's all the front office?
Well, they better, because Scott Brooks and Kevin Durant were extremely close. So when they made the decision to get rid of Scott Brooks, they better have been talking to him, because there's a good chance he leaves for Washington. I think it would be hilarious if Washington brought in Scott Brooks. I think that's the move to make if they want to get Durant over there. But I think Durant will be fine with whoever it is for now, as long as they win. That's the most important thing. They have to have a good year next year. They were my preseason pick to make the Western Conference Finals. Now, obviously, they had a ton of injuries, and Durant isn't playing now. Serge Ibaka closed out the year, so that kind of derailed things. But, they're a team that'll be back, and if they win, it'll be good for everyone.
Scott Chasen, the new sports editor of the University of Daily Kansan. We needed more sports on this show, and we got more sports on this show. Scott, thank you very much for joining us.
Where you go to college makes a statement about you. This place will become a part of you, your identity for life. The University of Kansas, a great place to be you.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me with this segment of Bella Without Borders.
Welcome back to Bella Without Borders.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to Bella Without Borders. Welcome back.
Today we have Heba Mustafa with Bader and Suhaib.
With Lena. Today I'm here with Mahnaz Shabir.
This is Bella Without Borders.
Welcome back to Bella Without Borders. I'm Isabella Kanjemi, and I'm here with Eyyup Esen, who's a representative of the Dialogue Institute Southwest. So we're going to talk a little bit about what the events they have for us, and also we're going to rewind and talk about how, Turkish nationalism. So how are you doing, Eyyup?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. If first we could back up a little bit and talk about the AKP, talk about that and how that goes into the Gulen movement and how that relates to the Dialogue Institute.
AKP came to power in 2002 when Turkey had an economic recession. People were desperate and were looking for a good party to help their dreams come true. Because we had a lot of disappointment with other parties, and AKP came to power, and they looked like a great party that tried to embrace all the differences. and they were re-elected over and over 3 times. But especially the last 3-4 years, people were not satisfied with them any longer, because when they came to power, their ideas were okay, we have to accept everybody, we have to respect for differences. However, in the recent years, we see that they are making discrimination against people who are not like-minded to them. So especially there was a clash between Gülen movement and AKP in recent years. I'm the representative of Dialogue Institute, and we liked their ideas initially. We never openly say we work for this party or that party, because we don't want to promote any party. However, we are values matched.
Right. You could find ideologies within one that you like or dislike.
Yes, absolutely. You know, human rights, democracy, freedom of speech, freedom of press, those are the values that we support. And AKP did it for a while. However, after, as they say, absolute power corrupts. After they won the elections over and over, unfortunately, the current president of Turkey and the prime minister, Mr. Erdogan and Mr. Davutoğlu, turned to be a dictator. And now they are cracking the media, crack down the media, and unfortunately still there are journalists who are in the prison. The reason is just they criticize the president.
Right. So when did the Gülen, movement really come into play?
Well, if we look back at the history of Gülen movement, I would say Gülen movement started in 1970s in Turkey.
Okay.
And at that time, Turkey had a sort of civil war. It was more ideological war between nationalist Turks and communist Turks. So it wasn't religious war, but it was more ideological war. So similar to the civil war in the US, people were killing each other. And Mr. Fethullah Gülen emerged as a peacemaker. He was an imam, a religious leader also, but the way he talked, the language use of him impressed millions of people. And a lot of people stopped war, stopped killing one another, and they just started building schools, building hospitals, building charity organizations. That was one of the teaching of Mr. Fethullah Gülen. He said, instead of building mosques, build schools. A lot of people were surprised, because Turkey is a Muslim country and he's a religious leader. But logically and objectively thinking, we have had
kind of like a political, standpoint on it.
Yeah, we have had a lot of mosques in Turkey, but we didn't have enough number of schools, so people were uneducated, and when you are uneducated, it's easy to manipulate people's ideas. So he emerged as a peacemaker, I would say, in early 1970s.
So how did people react to that?
Initially, not many people believed in him, because it is unfortunately hard to have people believe that peace is possible in the world. Fighting is easier, but he dreamed about it years ago, and initially not many people, but it grew over the years. Now millions of people are part of Gülen movement, both in Turkey nationally, but also all around the world. So it started as a Turkish grassroots movement, but now Gülen movement has representatives in 167 countries.
Wow. So the Gülen movement, connects to the Dialogue Institute that you're representing today. So tell me the purposes of the Dialogue Institute.
Yeah, Gülen movement is more the umbrella word, and Dialogue Institute one part of, let's say, a branch of Gülen movement. And Dialogue Institute of Kansas, established in 2002, mainly by Turkish Americans who believe in the necessity of dialogue among the members of different cultures, races, ethnicities, and faiths, or any different group. And Mr. Fethullah Gülen is the opinion leader of Dialogue Institute. He says, have a chair in your heart for everybody in the world. And he also emphasized that our title is human being. Our religion, our ethnicity comes after that. So once we acknowledge that our common title is human being, it is easier to find common grounds.
Right, quite an influential man he is.
In Lawrence and Kansas City.
Oh, very nice.
So, and if people would like to attend a friendship dinner next week, they can email us at iidsa@ku.edu.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming in and talking.
Thank you for having me here.
That will wrap up Bella Without Borders.
Where you go to college makes a statement about you. This place will become a part of you, your identity for life. The University of Kansas, a great place to be you.
Hi, I'm Candace, and this is our Good Evening KU News. The winter wheat crop in Kansas is struggling due to disease and drought. According to the Lawrence Journal World and National Agriculture Statistics Service, 31% of the state's wheat crop is in very poor condition, with only 2% being in excellent condition. Bumblebee Foods and 2 employees are being charged with felony safety violations after a worker was burned alive in an industrial pressure cooker. According to the Kansas City Star, Jose Molina was making repairs inside the cooker when the employees accidentally dumped roughly 12,000 pounds of tuna in and turned on the cooker. The company will be fined as much as $1.5 million. Riots in Baltimore have slowed as the newly inflicted 10 p.m. curfew has kept the city in a much calmer state than previous days. According to NBC News, police arrested 10 people for curfew violations yesterday night. The curfew will remain in effect for the remainder of the week. The Royals picked up their second straight victory over the Cleveland Indians, winning 11-5 last night in Cleveland. Alex Gordon and Kendry Morales hit home runs, while Royals relief pitch Brandon Finnegan picked up the win. The Royals will attempt the 3-game sweep tomorrow at 5:10 p.m. Former Kansas football player Ben Heaney hosted a spontaneous press conference yesterday highlighting his feelings about the upcoming NFL draft.
You know, I don't really know what to expect from this press conference. I mean, obviously he's a top prospect for Kansas. He might be saying he's not going to the draft. He might just be talking about the draft. We don't know. We'll see when we walk inside.
To have it, finally here within reach, it's pretty surreal, man. I'm anxious, I'm nervous, I'm excited, I'm emotional. There's a lot of stuff going into it, but more than anything, I'm just ready to know where I'll be for the next couple of years. So.
The NFL draft begins tomorrow at 7 p.m. Now for a quick look at the weather forecast, let's go to Jordan Watkins on campus.
Well, it is a beautiful day here in Lawrence. Temperatures are the highest they've been in a while. They'll be in the low to mid 70s for the rest of the week, and this weekend they will hit the 80s. And you can get out there and enjoy this warm weather because it won't rain this week or this weekend.
Thanks, Jordan, and that will wrap up today's news update. After the break, Paige will be back to tell us all about the history of the Oread.
Welcome back. I'm Paige Admany, and this is another edition of Paige's Points. Today I'll tell you where to stay during your trip to Lawrence. A top pick in our small city is the Eldridge Hotel. Originally called Free State Hotel in 1855, it burned down a year later and was rebuilt by Colonel Shaler Eldridge. However, bad luck followed when the hotel was destroyed once more in 1863. Undeterred, Colonel Eldridge rebuilt the hotel again, naming it the Eldridge. After a century, the hotel deteriorated and was restored several times before becoming the hotel we know it as today. Legend has it a ghost haunts the halls of the Eldridge. Reports range from patrons' bags shaking, air conditioners turning on their own and mysterious noises in the night. This photo shows what many believe is the ghost itself standing in the elevator. The story has been featured on A&E's biography channel's hit show, My Ghost Story. Moving a little closer to campus, the Oriad Hotel rests at the north end of Jayhawk Boulevard. Recently built in 2010, the hotel replaced a small sub shop and dive bar that had fallen into disrepair. The Oriad's 10 floors include the popular restaurant and bar Bird Dog that includes a menu favoring college students and business travelers alike. You can stop by this weekend to catch the Kentucky Derby watch party. The building also holds the Cave nightclub, a tanning salon, and College Hill Pizza Pub. A popular spot at this hotel is the Nest on 9th. The rooftop bar includes food service and live music, and even a popular spot for wedding photos. The Oriad stays busy hosting weddings nearly every weekend. Well, that's all for Pages Points today. You can find more information about these hotels and their events on their Facebook pages or websites. Catch the special 250th showing of Good Morning KU tomorrow at 10. I'm Paige Adamani, and thanks for watching.